Hi, everybody. I'm Scott Wheatley. I'm the Executive Director of the Cloverdale District Chamber of Commerce. We're proud to represent businesses in Clayton, Cloverdale, and Campbell Heights. Cloverdale Chamber and the Surrey Board of Trade tonight would like to recognize that we are on the ancestral territories of the Semiahmoo, Katzie, Kwantlen, Kekwat, and Tsawwassen First Nations. We're very happy to have you here joining us today for our special presentation, and I want to thank all of our federal election candidates in the riding of Cloverdale-Langley City who were able to attend tonight. So just to introduce them, we have with the Liberal Party, Madison Fleischer. The Green Party, Pat McCutcheon. With the NDP, Vanessa Sharma. Our Libertarian, Alex Joel. And People's Party, Ian Kennedy. Tamara Jansen sends her regrets. It's very important. I have to get my notes right. Your moderators tonight are myself and Jasroop Gossel, who's the Policy and Research Manager and the interim spokesperson from the Surrey Board of Trade. Now I'd like to invite Jasroop to say a few words and to ask the first question.
Thank you very much, Scott. So as Scott mentioned, my name is Jasroop Gossel. I'm the Policy and Research Manager and interim spokesperson at the Surrey Board of Trade. The Surrey Board of Trade and the Cloverdale District Chamber of Commerce and the South Surrey and White Rock Chamber of Commerce are nonpartisan business organizations. And our role is to instigate change at the different levels of government and ensure that our business community is able to communicate effectively with all of the elected members and ensure that they are listening to our business community. All of our chambers, we host these dialogues with political candidates for each and every election because we need to understand their vision for the business community. And it's not an easy job to run and be in a political office and serve our community, and it takes great courage. So please give all of our candidates a round of applause for being here tonight. Thank you very much. The Cloverdale District Chamber of Commerce, the Surrey Board of Trade, and the South Surrey and White Rock Chamber of Commerce really want to thank you for being here tonight and wish you the best. Now, I would like to begin with tonight's event by asking each candidate to introduce themselves for 1 minute. We will then ask a series of questions and allow each candidate to answer those questions for 1.5 minutes. We will mute the audio after the 1 minute for the introductions and then 1.5 minutes after the questions. Our timekeeper, Kapil Sharma, he will raise a yellow card when you have 15 seconds left, and he will raise a red card when your time is up, at which point he will then mute your mics, and we will move on to the next candidate. So in your introduction, please note your name, the party you belong to, and what will be your priority to serve your constituents as MP. And so we will begin with Madison, then Pat, then Ian, Vanessa, and finally Alex. So Madison, over to you first. And you can just press the button and it should go.
We're off to a great start.
There we go.
Everyone can hear me? Perfect. We already have an engaging audience. Awesome. My name is Madison Fleischer, and I'm your federal Liberal candidate for Cloverdale-Langley City. I've spent the last 10 years working alongside various orders of government in different capacities, and I definitely have the background to bridge stakeholders as well as serve the community in a greater capacity. I'm a longtime community advocate, I'm a small business owner, and I'm exactly like you. I face the same concerns as a young person who's trying to make it in this life, and I'm trying to just be a better advocate for all of us here in Cloverdale-Langley City and be your voice in Ottawa. I'm a graduate of Trinity Western University. I'm also a law graduate, and I hope to take a strong voice to Ottawa to represent all of you. Thank you.
Okay, good evening. Yeah, my name is Pat McCutcheon, and I'm running with the federal Green Party of Canada in the upcoming by-election. Myself and my wife have lived in Cloverdale for 24 years. We raised our 2 boys here. It's been a wonderful place, to live and reside. A bit about me. I'm a professional engineer. I ran my own consulting business for about the last 25 years before I wrapped it up last year and went into retirement. Over the past several months, I've talked to hundreds of residents, and it is clear that they want to see solutions to the high cost of living and unaffordable housing. If elected, these are the issues that I will be focusing on. In addition, I'll be fighting to tackle climate change, homelessness, and the toxic drug crisis. I'd like to thank the Cloverdale Chamber of Commerce and the Surrey Board of Trade for hosting this event tonight. Thank you.
This is the one you just asked him, please. Okay, so then we're going to,
Hello. Good, this one works. My name is Ian Kennedy, and I'm with the People's Party of Canada. I'm honored to be taking part in my third election for this beautiful riding. Excuse me. I currently work full-time, and I'm still working full-time while I am running this campaign. I work in an industrial setting, and I believe that we need more people like you and like me in Ottawa to represent the people ourselves. And just a quick note, I just received the questions. Everyone else received them ahead of time. I'm not blaming anyone, stuff happens. But everyone else definitely has a bit of a leg up on me on these ones.
You can hear me all right? Good. Good evening. My name is Vanessa Sharma, and I am your federal NDP candidate for Cloverdale-Langley City. As a proud Fijian and Nepali woman, a mental health advocate, and a voice for the working families, I'm here because our community deserves leadership that doesn't just talk about change, but actually delivers it. Growing up, I saw the challenges my family faced, rising costs, struggling to access services, and the impact of systemic discrimination. These experiences shaped my commitment to fight for affordability, equity, and justice for all Canadians. This election is about choice between the status quo that leaves so many behind and for a bold vision for a fairer future. I'm running to make life affordable, ensure healthcare works for everyone, and build a sustainable economy with good paying jobs. Thank you.
My name is Alex Joel. I'm running for the Libertarian Party of Canada. We have no illusions of forming government. We've never had an MP elected. What I am here to do is get the message out that we need to end foreign entanglements. We need to pull out of foreign wars. We need to stop these treaties that are spending money all over the world when we are sending people to die and funding, and we are funding people. We are funding people's deaths. What we need to do is also we need to end fractional reserve banking, which is taking away purchasing power of everyone in this room. If nobody up here talks about fractional reserve banking, they're misleading you into thinking that they know how to actually help you. We need to have the Bank of Canada neutered to the point where they're no longer able to allow inflation to happen, taking away your purchasing power. So I'm here to talk about the hard things that nobody else wants to talk about. Thank you.
great, thanks everybody. And my apologies if you didn't get the questions, that would have been my fault. I was in charge of question distribution. But they're all, you'll be fine, don't worry. Yeah. Our next question is going to be on the economy and small and medium-sized businesses. So small and medium-sized businesses are the backbone of Canada's economy. What specific policies will you implement to support local businesses in Surrey? So once again, we're going to start with Madison, and from the next question forward, we'll be rotating through the list. So we'll begin with Madison, then Pat, then Ian, then Vanessa, and finally Alex.
As I had mentioned earlier, I am a small business owner myself, and I come from a long line of small business owners, just like many of you in this very room. Recently, we've reduced credit card fees, which ensure more money in your pocket, not for big corporations. Lowering small business taxes has always been something that the Liberal Party of Canada has stood for. Ensuring that small businesses are prepared for the future, especially as everything is transitioning to a world that is so digitally and technologically focused. We've always been there for small businesses, especially during COVID when they needed us most. Whether it was perfect or not, that's up to the individual to decide. But it's certainly not something that, it's something that, has kept the doors open for so many of us. And I think having a party that stands behind you when you need it most, that's the most you can ask for. Across the world, we're seeing the same things. Small businesses in other countries are dealing with the same things. Rising global inflation. But right here, what we're doing at home, that's what matters most. And there's so much more that can still be done. And that's why coming here tonight, taking the first step, connecting with constituents as well, something that all of us have been doing, you need a strong business advocate, not just someone who is going to talk about policy. It has to come from the constituents. Otherwise, it's Ottawa dictating the community, not the community dictating what we can be as your voice in Ottawa.
Yeah, well, I completely agree. There's no question in my mind that small and medium-sized businesses are the backbone of our economy and provide resilience, diversification, and stability within our communities. Large multinational corporations tend to be more volatile and demanding on government handouts. Once the bottom line numbers turn red, they tend to cut and run. The recent forest industry mill closures are an example of that. The Green Party will support small and medium-sized businesses by holding the small business tax rate at no more than 9%, reducing the paperwork burden on small businesses by eliminating duplicate tax filings and red tape. We will encourage the adoption of new technology by reducing bureaucracy and streamlining approvals, and we'll also promote entrepreneurship, training, and business support.
The current
Yeah, it's working.
The current Trudeau government currently takes a lot of our tax money and then subsidizes large companies that either don't need them or they take the subsidies and under the basis of a promise and fail to deliver on that promise. I believe that we need a far simpler system which is more fair to all companies, big, small, and medium. I believe that we should be cutting out all of the loopholes in our current tax system, as this is very costly on all the small businesses just to pay for accountants, just to try to understand the tax system. I believe that we need a flat rate of 5% for all corporate businesses. This would make things a much more fair and even playing field for all of us. It will help spur growth and have these small and medium businesses on that fair playing field to be able to grow their business and do what's right for all Canadians. I believe that as everyone does, I believe small and medium businesses are the lifeblood of our communities, and we need to empower our communities to make things better for our community, because each community, even Cloverdale and Langley City communities, are different. And we will fight to make things more fair for all of you.
Small and medium-sized businesses are the heart of Surrey's economy. They create jobs, bring innovation, and keep our community thriving. I know how much local businesses owners care about their teams and their customers. The Liberals say that they're friends of small businesses, but hand out billions to corporations that offshore jobs. The Conservatives promise tax cuts, but fail to address barriers like soaring rents and payroll costs. Our plan for public universal pharmacare could save businesses approximately $600 per employee. And I understand how hard it is for small businesses to get around some of that red tape. The NDP platform wants to reduce the regulatory burden on small businesses to help them grow and wants to simplify the administrative process while offering better access to services these businesses need to grow. I mean, how good would it feel if you're a small business and you're able to save $600 per employee on extended healthcare benefits?
So in 2020, 2021, a lot of small businesses were shuttered because they were told they had to close their doors while big box stores were allowed to stay open. And I believe that the people that made those decisions have to be held accountable. But that's a whole different conversation. What I'm here to say is I support all these small and medium-sized businesses. We're all saying it like robots here. But the way I'm going to support is by ending the income tax. $0 you pay to the federal government, because taxation is theft, taxation is extortion, and we will find other ways to fund the things that people need and want. But the reality is that when you tax businesses, you are stopping their fruition. You're stopping them from being productive, and all of you know better how to spend your revenue than the government in Ottawa does. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. So this next question is on childcare. Please state your party's platform regarding the current universal childcare funding and stance on its future. And we will begin now with Pat, then Ian, Vanessa, Alex, and finally Madison.
Yeah, well, just before, am I on here?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, just before I get going here, I would like to ask Alex where funding will come from if there is no taxation, but maybe he can respond to that later.
So this isn't back and forth, thank you.
But anyways, yeah, when it comes to childcare, yeah, the cost of childcare is a major issue with the residents of Cloverdale-Langley City, and they're looking for relief. Currently in BC, the average full-time childcare cost is about $1,100 a month. This presents a significant burden to single parents and low-income families. Studies show that families supported with $10 a day childcare are better able to move off of assistance and access the labor market to attain quality full-time employment. The Green Party supports the universal, affordable, and early learning childcare system. The party believes that Canada needs a plan to achieve this goal and advocates for a comprehensive policy roadmap developed in collaboration with provinces, territories, local communities, Indigenous communities in the childcare sector. Now, to reach this goal of universal childcare, the Green Party plans to increase federal funding to reach at least 1% of GDP annually. We also plan to eliminate the GST on all construction costs related to childcare spaces. The Green Party will also improve and strengthen parental leave, making it more inclusive, flexible, and better paid. Thank you.
My biggest issue with the way that our society is really the cost of living. Everything is getting worse and worse and worse. Long gone are the days of the 50s and 60s where people could survive off of one income. This is my biggest issue. I want to make everything more affordable for all Canadians. There are a million ways that we can do it, and we want to start with having less of a protectionist economy and have our groceries cheaper, like our milk, dairy, and eggs. How many of us go down south to the border for our common groceries because it is far too expensive up here? I do myself. It makes things a lot better for everyone and all families. But why can't we do that in Canada? We need to get rid of all these boards that artificially inflate pricing across the board, including what I just said, and including in our the CRTC and radio telecommunications and cell phones, computers, and all of that. There's a million more things that we can do to reduce how much money comes out of our pockets. And then we will also reduce taxes. We will balance the budget and reduce taxes right afterwards, so that way we can make things more fair and more affordable for each Canadian. I do highly recommend looking at our platform for this, because there's a million ways that we can make things more cheaper and affordable for all Canadians.
Sorry, it's Vanessa and then you. Yep.
Affordable child care changes lives. Parents can pursue careers, kids thrive in safe environments, and single parents, and women particularly, can participate fully in the workforce. When Liberals have made strides, they've created a patchwork system that's uneven across provinces. The Conservatives, meanwhile, have not only voted against childcare multiple times, they want to cut it completely. They want families to pay more and have longer wait times to find childcare. The NDP will expand the universal childcare funding, ensuring $10 a day care is accessible to every family, no matter their income or location. We'll invest in training and wages for childcare workers, and so parents don't face wait lists. Every family deserves quality care for their kids. I know that this is something my parents would have benefited from growing up. I had to raise myself and my younger brother from a very young age. But had my parents had the option for $10 childcare, I would have seen them a lot more. And I know that there's a couple of folks in this room who can relate to that as well.
So talking with a lot of childcare providers, they talk about the hurdles that they have to go through to meet federal and provincial regulations. And they have a lot of families that are only able to have childcare because of these subsidies, and others that probably wouldn't have needed them, but are now creating more paperwork, more hurdles for these small and medium-sized businesses. Again, the childcare providers are the key part of this, not necessarily the people who want the childcare, which is what a lot of people are talking about. Ian did talk about a lot of the things that factor into the cost of living, and I agree with everything he said. So I'm not going to argue with that. What I will say is further that we need to drive down that cost of living, take away that tax burden on every family, and by adding new hurdles to these providers, like I said, these child care services, more paperwork, more regulations. It's not getting any further. Where do these wait lists come from? Why are people needing to have two families or two people in a family go to work? We all came from a generation when, sorry, not all, I just misspoke. I came from a generation where I had one parent working, one parent at home doing childcare, and she worked a side hustle. Like, we need to get back to that. Thank you.
In 2015, our party created the Canada Child Benefit to ensure families could care for their kids. Fast forward to 2021, we delivered $10 a day childcare, which saved families over $6,000 per year and ensured parents not needing to worry about if their children were being cared for or if they had to make a decision to go to work. I come from a single-parent household. I didn't have another option. What the Liberal Party is doing is giving families the option, not telling you how to raise your children. Just 4 months ago, we built more childcare spaces, and there's so much more to do. Conservatives, Ms. Tamara Jansen, voted against the CCB. She also voted against $10 a day childcare. Tonight, the PPC is talking about investing in the U.S. economy with groceries. The NDP is talking about childcare and taking credit for it, yet their leader ripped up an agreement because the Conservative leader said so. There is no patchwork system. This is often an issue that the NDP try and take credit for. But it was the Liberal Party that delivered $10 a day childcare, and we will continue to deliver for families and ensure that more childcare spaces are being made.
Great, thank you. Next, we're going to look at infrastructure. The question is, how will you work with other levels of government to secure needed Surrey infrastructure investments? With this one, we will begin with Ian, then Vanessa, then Alex, then Madison, and finally Pat.
Now, it is very important for the federal government not to overstep its boundaries. I do not believe that the federal government should be overstepping its boundaries on making decisions on communities and how they should be run. I believe that should be up to each member of the community and each community themselves, because the federal government should really be staying out on how to run different communities. I want to put the proper policies in place for all of us to build a better Cloverdale-Langley city, so that way we are free to choose. I do believe that a lot of our issues stem from all the rules and regulations that the federal government has put in place on building all of the different housing and the zoning restrictions. I do believe that the federal government has zero place to say. I believe that we can do better on our own and that we can make our own decisions on ourselves. I believe that we need to work together and to figure out the best way that is really best for Cloverdale-Langley City.
Surrey is one of the fastest growing cities in Canada. From schools to transit to healthcare facilities, we need investments that keep pace with our population growth. The Liberals announce big projects but fail to deliver on time, leaving cities scrambling to fill funding gaps. The Conservatives, meanwhile, leave municipalities high and dry, slashing vital infrastructure dollars. The NDP believes in true partnerships. As MP, I'll bring all levels of government to the table to prioritize Surrey's needs. From a new hospital to road improvements, for example, on 200th, right where the new middle school and high school is, those kids are walking on the road to get home. Why is there no sidewalk? What is it going to take for a sidewalk to be built to make sure that our kids are safe? We'll deliver permanent, predictable funding to municipalities so Surrey has the tools to build for the future.
So the PPC, like us, want to hand over a lot of the jurisdiction to the appropriate levels of government, but they're kind of a little gun shy in the way that that's their answer to a lot of questions. So again, while Ian and I will be able to have a beer after this and agree on basically everything, they're pussyfooting around the issue. And that is that there are so many things that should not even be funded by the municipal and the provincial governments. The reality is that there are some major issues like SkyTrain that federal, provincial, and municipal governments have all, and regional governments have all funded. It's a white elephant. It's never going. The ridership will never justify how much money has gone into it, and it's everyone in this room guaranteed has already paid something for it, and we'll be paying for it, and our children, our grandchildren will be paying for it for years to come. So we need to fight against these major projects, and if elected, I would do everything I could to pull all future funding for projects like SkyTrain from Surrey to Langley. Further to that, we have to factor in things like policing. The RCMP is a very ineffective police service nationwide. You should have a local police force. When I ran for mayor for the Township of Langley, I advocated for a local police force. I'm glad Surrey's finally getting it. A little overspent on the budgets.
Yeah, the Liberal candidate's going to rein it back in here. So working with levels of government to secure much needed Surrey investments in infrastructure. I think the biggest point that everyone should be, well, speaking about, and hopefully we'll hear from Pat as well, is bringing people together. My priority is you. Like we've, I think, tried to say earlier, it's important to have local representation in Ottawa, not having Ottawa represent our community. We know exactly what our concerns are. We know what the needs are of Surrey. And unfortunately, that's not going to come from Ottawa. It's going to come from all of you. It's going to come from meeting with the mayors. I've met with Mayor Brenda Locke. I've met with Mayor Nathan Pahal. I have yet to meet with Mayor Eric Woodward, but that's also on the list as we're amidst campaigning and everyone's schedules. And the biggest thing is ensuring our seat at the table because, again, we need local representatives dictating what our municipalities are needing. They know exactly where the gaps are, and this is where my experience the last 10 years working with the various levels and orders of government is going to come in play. I bring people together, I build bridges, and definitely we get things done.
Yeah, well, I'll echo some of what Madison just said there. Yeah, we are collectively much stronger than if we act individually. You know, a we society as opposed to a me society definitely flourishes. Yeah, on the infrastructure end of things, Surrey has definitely been shortchanged on multiple levels, provincially as well as federally. And unlike the Conservative Party, which does not allow its MPs to apply for the Federal Housing Accelerator Fund, a fund specifically designed to help cities build housing-related infrastructure, the Green Party plans to support municipal infrastructure investments in numerous ways. The Green Party proposes doubling the funding provided by the Canada Community Building Fund. This would provide a predictable and reliable source of funding for municipalities. The Green Party also proposes allocating 1% of GST revenue to housing and other municipal infrastructure on an ongoing basis, offering municipalities a consistent baseline of funding. The Green Party strongly advocates for permanent dedicated federal public transit fund of $3.4 billion annually. I do not expect a Conservative Party MP.
Thank you very much. Okay. So our next topic is on climate change. We want to know what your party's commitments to fight climate change are, and we will begin now with Alex, then Madison, Pat, Vanessa, and finally Ian.
There are two ways to look at this. Come on, geez, we're always second guessing it. Two ways to look at this. Is climate change a negative factor in people's lives? And if it is, what do we do to stop it? I believe that if there was something truly, a true crisis, the last people you'd want in charge of it were your federal government. They're going to underserve you on that. But the flip side to that, we look at what Bjorn Lomborg, a acclaimed climate scientist, said, and he actually looks at ways that alarmism actually hurts a lot, and people are investing a lot of tax money in the wrong areas. So what we need to do is trust that humans are going to be able to adjust and are going to make, we're going to be able to make the appropriate changes that we've done through the entire millennia that humans have been on the earth. The flip side to that is Canada's also supposed to be a net winner with climate change. There was an estimate from one climate group that's saying 4% per GDP improvement for Canada as a whole, according to the IPC numbers by 2100, the year 2100. So again, when we're forcing people to cut back on costs and heating and increase the cost of living, is that really what's in our best interest? I think not. So it really was just me screaming that. Oh no,
That's okay. Bipartisan teamwork. There we go. Well, our party believes that climate change is real, and I would say that probably 50% of this table would agree with me, I would hope. I mean, we see forest fires raging our province every summer, and I don't know if it was the underserving you part in how our party did the Oceans Protection Plan, where it was when we planted 2 billion trees or potentially even banning plastic waste, but we've definitely taken the steps necessary. I wouldn't consider that underserving, respectfully. While we were doing that, we also need to do it in a way that creates new and clean jobs. We need opportunities for our middle class. We need opportunities for our growing economy and our future, not just surviving, but thriving. And we're the only party who's doing both of those things. The Conservatives, they're ready to take us back to the inaction of the Harper years. The NDP have completely backed down, as we've seen recently with their capitulation with the CPC. And ultimately, the NDP don't even care about the economic impact on Canadians or fighting the climate change problems that we do face. And I think the first step is also admitting that climate change is real, it is a clear threat, and it's something we need to deal with. Otherwise, that's what our future generations are going to be dealing with, is the impact on climate change denial.
Yeah, okay. Climate change is the reason that I'm sitting here today and that I'm running with with the Green Party. Climate change represents the largest disruption to civilization that humans have ever seen. I believe we owe it to future generations to hand over a planet that is in as good or better shape than we received it. So far, we're feeling badly. The Green Party is the only party that takes the threat of climate change seriously. The Conservatives think climate change is a hoax and are going all in on oil and gas expansion. The Liberals say they believe in climate change and then build a $40 billion pipeline, which is, by the way, $30 billion over budget. The NDP also say they believe in climate change and then promote abolishing the carbon tax. The Green Party strongly advocates for environmental protection and bold climate action, including ambitious emissions reduction targets, accelerated transition to renewable energy, a divestment from fossil fuel production, and a strong transition for the sector workers. Green infrastructure and retrofit programs, such as installing heat pumps. We strongly promote the economic opportunities that are unfolding in the green economy. For the record, Mother Nature does not care what you think about climate change. If we continue to heat the planet, bad things are going to happen.
Now, like my libertarian friend here, I completely agree that the alarmism is unwarranted and it just is making things worse would be a better way to put it. While I truly believe that oil, and I personally believe that oil isn't necessarily our energy of the future, I do not necessarily believe in the green technologies that we are currently pushing out as well. We are not taking a step back. We need to find out what the real environmental concerns and damages could be from these technologies as well. For leaving the pit mines throughout that scar our beautiful planet's Earth, I don't think that is fair to our planet to do as well. I don't believe that we should be relying on a lot of not necessarily slave labor, but not far from it, for people that get paid an hour a day with the precious metals that get dug up from the Earth's ground. I do believe that CO2 is a greening agent. I do believe in a greener world. Now, I don't believe in coal or anything like that. I believe that dirties the air, but we need to look at what we are doing, take a step back, and really think about our future. Because right now, when people are afraid and live in fear, we make irrational decisions that may not be the best in the future.
I feel like Pat and I should have just spoke together. The climate crisis isn't tomorrow's problem. It's today's emergency. In Surrey, we felt its effects through wildfires, floods, and extreme heat. Liberals talk about targets, but approve pipelines. Conservatives deny the urgency of the crisis and offer no real solutions. The NDP will tackle climate change head on, investing in renewable energy, public transit, and energy efficient retrofits to reduce emissions while creating thousands of good jobs, hopefully unionized jobs. Will hold polluters accountable, phase out fossil fuel subsidies, and ensure Canada meets its climate obligation. Surrey deserves a future we can breathe in. Coming from both sides of the utility sector, I know the ins and outs. I know the plans that Hydro has. I know the plans that FortisBC has. And I would love to speak to you more about it afterwards. I know we only have a limited time, but I can go on and talk to you about the future plans and how we are going to properly lower the carbon footprint.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to move on to some international relations. The question is, will you support Canada fulfilling its NATO obligations by spending 2% of its GDP towards global security? For this one, we'll start back with Madison, then Pat, Ian, Vanessa, and finally Alex.
100% I would be committed to supporting this. So the Liberal Party of Canada is committed to our 2% target, and we are on track to reach that by 2030. And to put things into context, 2015, the Conservative government did drop defense spending below our GDP of that time, which was about 1%. While the Conservatives say they will do it, they didn't when they actually had the chance.
Yeah, this is a very important topic, no question about it, an important issue. The Green Party policy on geopolitical conflicts is to always promote diplomacy and peace first. In addition, the Green Party advocates restricting our NATO spending to 1.3% of GDP. Now, this is a point where the Green Party and myself disagree. You don't hear that often at an all-candidates meeting. But given the current geopolitical tensions, I strongly urge Canada to meet its 2% NATO obligation. Now, the world is not unipolar anymore. China and Russia are exercising increased influence, and NATO has to be the strong counterbalance. Canada must be a strong member, and we need to pull our weight.
First of all, I want to say that I am against the endless wars that we keep on throwing money at, and I do believe that this is a major issue. But with that being said, we need a strong Canada and a strong Canadian military. We need to be able to defend our interests and defend our citizens. Of course, this is a no-brainer. We need to spend 2% of our GDP on our military forces and bring it right back up to speed to what it was. Because without this, Canada will be weak and left defenseless. We should not have to depend on any other country other than ourselves for our own self-defense.
Canada has a responsibility to contribute to global peace and security, but we must do so in a way that reflects a Canadian values of diplomacy, justice, and peace building. Conservatives cut defense spending to less than 1%, an all-time low. That resulted in 9 veteran affairs centers being closed down and pensions being slashed. After 9 years of Trudeau, half of the CAF's equipment is broken and we can't pay our troops on time. The NDP supports a balanced approach. We'll modernize our armed forces and ensure our commitments align with building global peace. But we also need investments here at home in housing, healthcare, and climate action, because a secure Canada starts with strong communities.
I'll agree with Vanessa in that we shouldn't be spending any money abroad if we can keep that money locally. Ian kind of had the same idea. What I will say is it should be $0 spent. Every dollar we send to Israel, to Ukraine, every dollar that we send to Saudi Arabia, we're complicit in murder. We're subsidizing murder in those nations, and everyone who is okay with that is now, by an extent, a murderer. So really, what I'm talking about is also staying out of all other foreign conflicts, like China. Like they're talking about sending American troops there, and of course, America is an extension of NATO to try and make sure that China doesn't overtake Taiwan. We need to mind our own business, stop spending money abroad, stop sending money that are subsidizing genocides internationally. So no, I will not be advocating for 2% of our GDP going towards murdering people across the globe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, candidates. So the next question is on taxation. We would like to know your party's plans to reduce the national deficit. And for this one, we'll start with Pat, then Ian, then Vanessa, Alex, and finally Madison. Pat, over to you.
Yeah, okay, well, yeah, there are a number of ways that, and this is, okay, a couple of things that the Green Party would embark on when it comes to tackling the national debt. Off the top here, you're probably aware of the ever-growing wealth gap in this country. And the Green Party feels part of the solution should involve the wealthiest 10% paying their fair share. As a recent, at the recent G20 conference in Brazil, they suggested that we should maybe apply a 2% wealth tax on the ultra-rich. We would also support the carbon, or we also support the carbon tax along with the rebates that it provides to 70% of the population. It's funny how the Conservative Party always fails to mention the rebates. A family of four making $54,000 or less per year receives a rebate of $1,100. This rebate disappears if the carbon tax is removed. In addition, the wealthy receive a very large tax break because they own larger homes, cars, boats, and they travel more. We would also stop subsidizing the oil and gas industry, which is a sunset industry. Energy experts are predicting that oil and gas consumption will peak by 2030 and then begin a steady decline.
So, can't believe I'm going to say this, but I do agree with the Green Party representative that we need to cut subsidies to the fossil oil and fuel companies. But I also believe that we should cut subsidies to the green and the costly green technologies that are coming out today. I believe that we should be cutting all subsidies, just period, end of statement. Because this is just an unfair burden on us, the taxpayer. We need these companies to start coming out with better energy and better tools that will be cheaper for us as Canadians, and they will not do that if they keep on getting handouts from the government. Deficits and debts are nothing more than deferred taxes on our children and grandchildren. Instead of buying votes with borrowed money, a responsible government should aggressively cut spending and balance the budget as quickly as possible. And then we can lower taxes in a prudent manner to put money back into Canadians' pockets. We can get rid of the deficit by the end of a first mandate through fiscal prudence and spending cuts, including corporate welfare, which, as I said earlier, is very, very poorly spent, foreign development aid, just like my libertarian friend over here, the CBC, equalization payments, and funding for programs which are provincial or municipal responsibilities. We need to stop using our tax system for political ends and make it simpler and fair.
Canada's debt shouldn't be borne on the backs of working families. Ordinary Canadians didn't cause this deficit. Corporate tax loopholes and billion handouts did. Conservatives cut services while protecting the ultra-wealthy, like the $60 billion corporate tax cut that they gave out. It's impossible to reduce the national deficit when companies like Loblaws and Rogers are getting billions of free handouts. Liberals talk about fairness, but let corporations and the rich avoid paying their share. The NDP will make the ultra-rich and big corporations pay their fair share by closing tax loopholes and introducing a wealth tax on fortunes over $10 million. This will allow us to reduce the deficit responsibly while protecting critical services like healthcare and education.
So absolutely we need to end subsidies
Sorry, Alex, you're muted. You gotta press.
We need to end the subsidies to the corporations. I actually work for one of the ones Vanessa just mentioned, but the reality is that none of them need any special help from taxpayers. But what we need to do is ensure that when we eliminate the income tax, which was what the Libertarian Party of Canada advocates for, we're also eliminating grants and subsidies that so many of these companies are starting to, they're welfare queens. They're mooching off of lower and middle income people for their own benefits. And so the LPOC, we would eliminate that immediately. One thing we would do to start, again, while we're cutting services that the federal government has no business being a part of, we would maintain the GST. That's one of the more voluntary taxes in that as you make a transition, you're voluntarily buying, and that would be a way for us to still bring in some income. But when it comes down to it, we need to make a big dent in that federal debt. We need to make a big dent in that deficit. We're going to sell off all the public land. We're going to sell off crown corporations because they are not well executed by government interests. Thank you.
Just quickly, do we have anyone who's accepted a CEBA loan in here, in the room, or CERB? So apparently that is a welfare queen. To me, regardless, to me, balancing the budget, yes, is important. Supporting our people is equally as important. Ultimately, we're faced between a choice between conservative cuts to absolutely every social service during a time when Canadians need it most. We've invested in Canadians when times have been hard. What no one has failed to mention, actually, up on this stage here is the fact that we just experienced a pandemic, something many of us haven't experienced in our lifetimes. Investing in our most precious capital, our people, will grow the economy. Pierre Poilievre and his Conservatives want to make serious cuts that we don't believe that that's how you build an economy. Anyone with a social conscience would know that in basically voting for a Conservative right now is going to be cutting all of these programs, all of these benefits, and it's not just corporations. These are individuals. These are loans that keep our small businesses open. Those doors need to be open, otherwise there is no economy. They're the backbone. And I think all of you know that because you're small business owners, that's why you're here tonight. So right now, in a time when people are hurting, when people are feeling the pressures of global inflation, it's not just us, it's the same thing across the border. It's the same thing in Australia, in New Zealand. We can't afford to cut services when people need it most.
Okay, thank you. Next, we're going to be talking about transportation. With the growing population and increased demand for transportation in Surrey, especially in Cloverdale, where transit service is scarce and densification occurring at rapid levels. How does your party plan to manage, build, and expand transportation infrastructure? What are your priorities for public transit, cycling, and road network improvements, particularly in the growing regions of Cloverdale and Langley City? With this one, we'll start with Ian, Vanessa, Alex, Madison, then Pat.
Again, I do believe that the federal government should not be overstepping its boundaries and interfering with provincial and municipal matters. I do believe that we are currently experiencing an overcrowding of our cities, and through mass immigration policies put through by the Liberal government, and the Conservatives are very little better. We have been called racists in the past for this, but even nowadays, both Trudeau and Pierre are calling for less immigration because they realize that the strain on our community is just too much for it. I'm all for an immigration policy in which we are helping our Canadian citizens and fill the needs that are left in our society. I want to bring down immigration to 100,000 a year, and we want to make sure that they align with our Canadian values. We also want to ensure that no one is here illegally putting an unfair strain on our housing and critical systems, especially our healthcare system as well. And so I truly believe that if we start to manage our immigration better, that we'll see less of a strain on our communities and we'll be able to flourish more. I'm all for, again, back in the 50s and 60s where we all lived in houses and whatnot. I'm against the over-densification of cities because it's not as nice, it's not as beautiful. I want a more beautiful, prosperous Cloverdale-Langley city.
Cloverdale is growing fast, and residents deserve transportation infrastructure that meets their needs, where it's buses, bike lanes, and better roads. Liberals promise transit, but fail to deliver. Conservatives offer no vision for sustainable transportation, ignoring the realities of urban growth. The NDP will fund a public transit expansion, including extending SkyTrain service and increasing bus routes in underserved areas like Cloverdale. We'll prioritize active transportation, infrastructure, and ensure road networks support commuters and local businesses. Every Surrey resident deserves to move through our city efficiently and affordably. My brother takes transit, and he tells me every single day how hard it is for him. He's like, why is there no SkyTrain yet? Why is it so hard? Why am I spending hours of my day commuting to work? How is that fair? And I tell him, you know what? It's not. And driving back and forth from Vancouver to Langley for his job isn't economical either. So how do we fix that? Why hasn't it been fixed?
Transportation being a provincial and municipal level of government, there's only so much we can do. One of the things that definitely Trans-Canada Highways jumps out. One of the things that we've talked about locally here in the Lower Mainland is tolls on bridges. We got to bring back tolls on bridges. Users should be paying for these infrastructure pieces. The Green Party, I've been told at least twice that I'd make a great Green Party candidate based on that the user should be paying, that behavior of people that live in the area should be paying for these bridges, these tunnels. It's going to decrease urban sprawl. I'm against Ian. Densification is super important. It's how we get to a better place in our urban lives. Just going to wrap up real quick here. Other than that, we work with governments, other governments, to take down regulations on ride sharing. Ride sharing is the future. Obviously, personally, I think buses are the best investment. Again, that's a regional, municipal level and provincial level thing, but that's where I think that the best bang for your buck is increasing bus service and decreasing regulations on ride sharing. Thank you.
Now, we recently committed to investing in the SkyTrain extension from Langley to the downtown corridor as well to Surrey, which I think is huge because we're not pushing young people, families, working people, seniors out towards Abbotsford and Chilliwack. We're keeping them in the hub, in our community. We're keeping them on the side where they can get to Surrey, and we're alleviating that congestion as well that impacts urban planning, as we're seeing, the struggles driving down 64 Avenue these days. This is something that I was speaking with Mayor Nathan Pahal over as well. Working with provincial government and the mayors, Langley City, Surrey, Langley Township, to deliver these priorities must be determined by the people that are living here. And I think out of all of the candidates too, it's Pat, myself, and Ian who are actually the ones who are living in the riding, whereas the other three are outside of the riding. So I think that is really important too, because we face the same challenges as everyone in this room. We're driving down the street. We know what kind of commute we're having to face. And Pierre Poilievre said just a few days ago, mayors are useless. That was his direct quote. Will he not cut investments in infrastructure? I feel that that's a lesson our municipalities do not deserve, nor can they afford to learn.
Seeing as that we're bringing up some Pierre Poilievre quotes, Pierre Poilievre also said that Chamber of Commerce is less than useless. They're money-sucking lobbyists, and that members of the chamber should cancel their memberships. Anyways, we got Scott Wheatley here of the Cloverdale Chamber of Commerce, and he's done a wonderful. But back on the topic of transit, and I've lost half a minute of my time here, but anyways, public transit in Surrey and Langley is in shambles. And over the past 4 decades, traditional political parties have failed to deliver the public transit that we deserve. If they are elected, do not expect that to change. The Green Party believes a zero carbon public ground transportation system is achievable by 2040. To accomplish this ambitious goal, the Green Party platform outlines a comprehensive plan that includes increased funding for public transit. We recognize that municipalities are responsible for delivering public transit services, but are often constrained by limited budgets and provincial regulations. To address these challenges, the Green Party supports empowering municipality through increased funding and lower interest rates, and these are achieved through the Canadian Community Building Fund and the Canadian Infrastructure Bank.
Thank you very much, candidates. All right, everyone. So we have some time left over. So I know this wasn't in the program, but we're going to give you all 1 minute for concluding remarks. And so in these remarks, again, you can speak about any of the topics that we spoke about today, or you can add something else. But also, please do include your name as well as your party and your concluding remarks for 1 minute. And for this, we will begin with Madison, then Pat, and then Ian, finally Vanessa, and then Alex.
Perfect. Thank you all for listening to us tonight, and hopefully we've assisted in your decision making for the upcoming by-election. My name is Madison Fleischer. I'm your federal Liberal candidate for Cloverdale-Langley City, and my priorities stand that I want to make life more affordable. I want to build on the $10 a day child care. We've received the Canadian Child Benefit. We need to strengthen our public health care system, and we've done that so far by providing dental care and pharmacare. We take bold climate action, and we need to build a strong and growing economy that works for everyone. I need to stand up for seniors because that is a huge underrepresented population here, something very, very close to myself. And unfortunately, not many seniors have the benefit of living with myself and my mother as well. That's something that my grandmother is experiencing. So something I want to stand up for is our seniors and making sure that they have a strong advocate in Ottawa for Cloverdale-Langley City. That's real progress, and we can't afford to go back. So please vote December 6 to 9 as advance, and final vote is on December 16th. Thank you.
So then Pat, and then back to the...
Yeah, okay. The Green Party is about solutions, not slogans. Common sense government, as the Conservative Party likes to promote, is great for making sure you get your shoes on the right feet in the morning, but it will never solve the complex problems in front of us. Green Party policy is progressive and evidence-based. We consult with professionals, sector workers, and stakeholders. We do not politicize painful issues like homelessness or the toxic drug crisis like the Conservative Party does. If you value strong, progressive, evidence-based solutions, then vote for me, Pat McCutcheon, on December 16th. Vote for the Green Party of Canada. Merry Christmas to everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. If you have any questions, please grab me before you head out the door. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Ian.
I do love that you said Merry Christmas. That is a saying that I do miss hearing more and more. So first of all, I do want to start off with I was a little shaken at this all candidates meeting. I'm not too happy that all the other candidates got the questions. I did not. This is the first time that I've ever experienced an unfair approach to things. Now, with that being said, the way that I want to look at it is I want to bring accountability to the government. I don't think that things have been working out well for us as Canadians with either the Liberals or Conservatives in power. I believe that all politicians should be serving the people. I believe that the representative of this riding should be serving the constituents of Langley City and Cloverdale. I do believe that it is time to shake up the House of Commons. I do believe that we need a PPC MP. What's going to change if the riding elects another Conservative or another Liberal or NDP? We're getting the same old things. In contrast,
Thank you very much.
Thank you for spending your evening with me tonight. My name is Vanessa Sharma, and I'm not just your NDP candidate. I'm your neighbor, your advocate, and someone who understands the struggles we face together. I've stood on the front lines fighting for mental health resources after losing my mother to it. I've raised my voice against discrimination and systemic racism because I've lived it. And I've stood with activists speaking truth to power, whether it's standing against genocides or defending the right to a better, fairer world. This isn't just about politics to me, it's personal. I'm one of you, and I'm fighting for you. I'm fighting to make life affordable, to tackle the housing crisis, to bring better health care, and to build a future where every voice, your voice, is heard and valued. Together, we can build a community where no one is left behind.
Quite the privilege to be able to go last. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I work here in Cloverdale-Langley City, I play here, I've grown up in the area, so I have a connection to the people of this riding more or less than anyone else. It comes down to, what am I going to do if I was elected MP? I'd be a singular voice for liberty among 338 MPs, trying to leverage for lower taxes, more freedom. We have to talk about it. Again, I opened with it, I'm going to end with it. We need to end inflation. It's what is causing everyone to lose their purchasing power, and the Bank of Canada is doing that through just printing the government debt, fractional reserve banking, that all the banks are doing. They are taking away your purchasing power. This has to be talked about. They are all complicit in making everyone else less wealthy. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. My name is Alex Joel, Libertarian.
Thank you very much. And let's have a round of applause for all of our candidates. Thank you very much for spending time with us today. And thank you, everyone here in the audience and that will be watching at home. This is being recorded. Will be on our respective YouTube and websites later. That concludes our time for today. And on behalf of the Cloverdale and District Chamber of Commerce, the Surrey Board of Trade, and the South Surrey and White Rock Chamber of Commerce, I would like to share our sincerest appreciation for all of you candidates and for your valuable time with us today. And please do go out and vote. Advance voting is beginning shortly, and December 16th is Election Day. Thank you very much for coming. Make it a great business day.